an amazing special guest. His name is Ra of Earth. Ra is a Purium crown leader. He also used to own multiple gyms across LA. He's the owner of Kriya of the Week, and he's also a six-figure earner. The reason why I wanted to get him on this call today is because, there's so many of us, especially within the spiritual community, that are struggling with finances. And I think so many of us try to use spirituality as a way to, mask or hide. The real reality is that we need to get out of our comfort zone and learn how to make this stuff happen. And so I wanted to find somebody who was really aligned spiritually, but also doing well financially, and that they were using that money to take the bright ideas that they have in their head and make them into reality, which is really the purpose of why I believe we're here. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my friend and colleague, Ra of Earth.
What is up, everybody? My name's Ra. Yes, Bo had me to come on and talk about, I believe the sentence he gave me was Ascension in regards to money. And so that's the direction I'm going to be flowing today. Once again, thank you. Bo said thanks. I'm going to say thank you guys all for being here and receiving. I'm probably like most of you, just, I was born and raised middle class. When I say middle class, I mean there was plywood floors until I was about 17 years old in my house, which was great because we could walk around on our hockey skates in the wintertime because we built an ice rink in the backyard. We could rollerblade inside, but I didn't really know that I was just kind of like ordinary. I didn't know that more luxurious things existed until I got my driver's license. When I turned 16, I started driving to not the mall that was in my city. I found out that that's like the crappy mall, but I would drive half hour, 45 minutes to the other cities. And then I started realizing that there's more. There's more to this life thing than I was born and raised in, and it seems that the access point to this other moreness that I was realizing as a youngster is money. Like, it just seems like the nicer areas have more things and more fun and prettier everything, better cars, more experiences, people that didn't look like they were stressed from working. And so I became very interested in this at that time. And I started recognizing, I was going to college, I started recognizing that maybe the job thing wasn't what I wanted. And I just started reading books and pirating self-help seminars. And I started getting into themes and topics of like the deeper inner self, themes like meditation, themes like manifesting and drawing realities to you. About 20 years ago. So I was about 19. I'm 39 now. And with those gnosis, with that knowledge, I was able to do things like win nationals on my hockey team. And I remember the point where I wrote down in my notebook in class, because I was just bored listening to the teacher, I wrote down in my notebook, we're going to win nationals this year. The year before, we were last place in our division. We lost every game but one. I'm writing this down in my notebook. That year, we won every game, lost one, and won nationals. Did it have to do with me intending on that? I don't know, but I was going to find out, right? And what a better subject to test manifestation abilities than money. Money's great because it can be like symbolized by numbers. Right? And the whole universe is structured by numbers and shapes and geometry. But also when you look at the scientific method and what makes good science, we need things to be measurable, observable, and repeatable. And so numbers are a good tool for that. And so when we're speaking about ascension, we're speaking about us stepping into our creator powers as a union of human beings on this planet, recognizing the union and stepping forward into creatorship consciously. Okay, we have been unconsciously creating what is going on right now. So this is my why. This is why I'm on Instagram every single day. This is why I'm in the business that I'm doing every single day. This is why I've done previous businesses. I used to own gyms for 10 years in downtown LA. That was one of the things that I practiced manifesting, and that came true. After that, I had a nonprofit that was called the Human Network. Okay, and that was for me to try to end capitalism, because at that time I thought money was evil. And it's no wonder that no money came into that project, and that project tanked, and no money came into my life, and I pretty much got what I wanted. I was just basically hanging out under waterfalls every single day, but with no money in the bank. But the point is that I'm here to activate and engage creators, right? Because the more of us that are creating our dreams as opposed to creating our nightmares, the closer we get to living in everybody's dream world. And that's my intention right now, is to live in everybody's dream world. So I've got some topics to talk about. Just potentially these topics could change your life, but really it just depends on your integration, right? There's nothing new under the sun. Anything that I'm going to say has been said before. Anything that I'm going to say you probably already know. But maybe today's the decision point. Maybe not. The first one is just to continue on about money, right? Is in the, let's call it conscious community, spiritual community, there's this notion that money and spirituality are opposites. And I notice this. And what I have observed is that if we look back in history, and because I was like, well, where did this start? Where did it start where people felt like having money is the root of all evil, right? Like, where did that phrase start? Where does this feeling start? I know that it probably started with your parents telling you that the rich neighbor is an asshole. I know that's probably where it started with you, but in general, where did it start? And what I've come up with, completely my own opinion, is that at one point the church ruled everything. It made all of the decisions. It said what was and what wasn't. And the church originated its concepts from a non-physical space, like a spiritual origin point. And eventually science came along, right? Science came along, and as I said, experimentation, measure, observe, repeat. Church can't really argue with that, but church is the runners of civilization. They form civilization. They form the territories. They form how the people do things. So how is church going to face this opponent called science? It basically, science threatens to take over what the church has set up. And basically what happened was they just made a deal. They just made an arrangement and said, hey, science, you can continue doing your thing. It's cool. It looks cool. We like it. We probably agree with it, but we still need to maintain our power. So why don't you just handle everything physical? Everything physical is yours. Do whatever you want with it. We're still going to manage the opinions and the perspectives of the people when it comes to non-physical stuff. And so there's this separation, but this separation is completely an illusion, right? It was a handshake deal made by the church to maintain control over the people. And so these separate, the separateness of science and church, or science and spirituality, still exists today. And that is a reflection of the separateness that we see within money and spirituality. It's kind of the same thing, because money is a concept of this physical world. It too is an illusion. It too is made up by us to satisfy power and control, and also for us to satisfy how we do business in this capitalistic society. And so when people start getting in touch with their non-physical side, meditating, breath work, start paying attention to things that don't have to do with the body and the space around us. It has to do with like these other dimensions, these channeled thoughts. We feel that that's opposite of money, opposite of science, but really they're one, right? And so I look at money as an aspect of reality. We came to experience this reality. Money is an aspect in the time and space that I exist in and that most all of you exist in, because I'm guessing you guys all have a smartphone or a laptop that was purchased with either your money or somebody else's money. So it is a way that we manifest things now. It's the story that we tell ourselves. So if we can just kind of like erase those lines a little bit, it'll make things a lot easier, because it's very easy to speak about money negatively. It takes an open mind to start thinking about money as a spiritual concept. And that's what I'm going to be doing now. Because I believe that the amount of money that you intend to have is the amount of money that we have. So I'm going to start with the next section by doing a poll. Money can make us happy, and we'll get to that in a second. It doesn't make us happy. Actually, it's reverse correlated with happiness. But could you guys put in the chat, those that are listening, what would make you happy? What would make you more happy? If somebody was like, you could have anything, what would it be? You just put that in the chat. Nobody? We got one. So we have about 5% response rate. 5% response rate. I'm just really gauging the audience. So we got more money, a really nice house, time, another me, love, good friends and family, a tiny home in the woods, my fiance's visa, more time, more money. Great. Traveling, complete financial freedom. That's awesome. Okay. So these are, I'll come back to this. So when it comes to, so you guys aren't doing a critical mistake, right? So first of all, we want to believe that we're creating everything, right? So we got traveling, freedom, good. So what we want to start doing, I'm going to go over like when we start making an intention. So the way that I think about intention, and I'm going to go over wanting and desiring, because that's like kind of like, is it wrong to want? You know, that gets thrown around also. And I've got a difference between want and desire. They're actually two different words, even though they're proposed as synonyms. Their actually roots are different. I'm going to give you guys you're going to have to wait. That's going to happen in about 5-10 minutes. But want and desire, two different things. So we got to be careful how we spell our reality. But you guys are doing great things, right? These are general things that make you happy. So first of all, one of the things that I notice when it comes to manifesting abundance, manifesting anything, right? We're talking about money, but it's really anything, right? That's why I said happiness, right? Because happiness, all of these things that you guys wrote here, like literally every single one takes money. House, more money, love, good friends. Some things that don't take money is more time, all right? A lot of people think that more money equals more time, but actually that's not true. Home, like all of this is, it takes a certain amount of money. Freedom doesn't necessarily take money either, but they're all general. So one things that we want to do is make our desires, our intentions very, very specific, super specific as you can make them. So for instance, home, we want to actually design the thing. We want to super design it. And we're going to do an exercise at the end of this. But some things when it comes to setting intentions. The way that I speak about intention, or the way I think about intention, is that there's infinite realities. Infinite realities. And I think about this reality as like a computer. Okay, so this is an energetic matrix. You guys all know in science, they try to go down to the smallest thing. They find an atom, and that's where particle physics comes from. And atom means cannot cut, like the anti-cut atom. But we know that you can cut an atom. And basically, if you go down, lower, and lower, and lower, you just find energy. So this is all an energetic field, much like a computer has infinite amount of information accessed on the computer. And I look at reality as the computer screen, right? So out of infinite information that my computer has access to, whatever I type into the computer determines what pops up on the screen. So when we think about parallel realities, they don't necessarily need to be existing physically. Okay, there's another me out there, yes. Just like there's another computer screen on your computer screen, but it's not actually existing as a computer screen somewhere else, right? It's in this information field. And so this is kind of how I think about reality. It's a three-dimensional matrix that is manifested into materialism through us, right? Like we have the hands that can feel the matter, even though the matter's not really matter. There's no thing there. It's energy, but we have the sensations to perceive it, right? Our eyes see the colors, even though the colors don't really exist. The sounds don't really exist. They're just vibrations. We interpret them as sounds. Okay, so all of reality works this way. We're all creating this. So as fundamental nodes of this creation, we want to make sure we know how it works. So number one is be specific. All right, be specific on what you're creating. Number two, don't compromise. If we are going to step into our creatorship, we want to make sure that we're not compromising. And we also don't want to say things, think things like should. I should start a business. I should be healthier. I should be happier. So we want to get rid of compromises. We want to get rid of shoulds. And we want to make sure that we can imagine what we want. This is a big key in terms of creating abundance, creating reality, is that your belief, your faith, your alignment to it needs to be possible. That's why many people don't agree that what I'm about to speak about in more depth is possible, because we feel that the things that we want aren't possible. A lot of people just want $1 million, and they're like, well, I didn't get $1 million today, so I must not be able to create $1 million. But just because you say it doesn't really mean that you actually are there. Like you actually have what it takes to be in that reality. And so more of you is saying that you don't want $1 million, and more of you is actually harmonized with complaining about the bills that you have to pay. And that's really where your focus and your energy is. And so the bills keep on piling up because that's where your energy is. So we want to be clear. We want to make sure we're imagining what we want and not what we don't want. And we're going to do this. I know I'm really general right now. We're gonna bring it in a little bit. I'm gonna start narrowing it down. But I did so just to demonstrate and practice everything, we're gonna just go through the experience of not compromising, not saying should, making sure we can imagine what we're creating, not creating what we don't want, being clear. We're gonna go through an experience. So I did this with the group of people, and we're all going to do this now. We're all going to open up our emails. Hopefully we have 2 different email addresses. Open up maybe one you don't use so much, and you're going to send an email to the one that you normally use. Everyone's going to do this, whether we're on our computer or not. We're going to take 2 minutes to do this. Even I'm going to do it. So everybody get into one of your email boxes, and what we're going to do, those things that you wanted, if you're not at a place where you believe that you can be in a beautiful home and financial freedom, that's not what you're going to use. We're going to send an email to ourselves, by ourselves, as if we were achieving and creating something. So, for instance, I did this with a group of people. One of the guys was bidding on a job that he really wanted. And this is like a world famous photographer. And he bid like an insane price on one of the jobs. And he absolutely didn't think he was going to get it. But in the... is that how it went? I don't think he did anything. No, he wanted somebody to contact him about an insane job. And so the assignment that we're going to do right now is we're all going to write an email to ourselves as if we just received something that we're creating, whether it's money, whether it's maybe a job or career. Like an example of that would be like, congratulations, Mr. Bo. You have been hired to fill in the blank, right? Congratulations on your new car, Miss Priscilla. Your 2023 fill in the blank is waiting for you at the dealership. Please come pick it up. Or, congratulations, Sally Joe. Your donation has helped us build a school in Uganda. Whatever it is that you are really trying to create, and you can believe it, be specific. Write it to yourself right now. We're going to take 2 minutes. It's a very simple drill. If there's any questions, you can put it in the chat. If you're done, add more details. Add more details, make it specific. Make it just one step better. Add a little bit more details to it. Okay. It's important to be specific. I have a friend, he came over from somewhere where people are tall. Somewhere in Northern Europe country. I want to say Hungary, but I don't think that's it. And his dream was to play for Pepperdine University. And that's what he came to America to do. And he ended up coming here and getting sidetracked, and he didn't end up playing for Pepperdine University. But 10 years later, when I knew him, he starred in a commercial as a basketball player. Oh yeah, he was a basketball player, so he wanted to play on Pepperdine University's basketball team. So 10 years later, he starred in a commercial because he got sidelined being in LA, became an actor instead. And he never really went to Pepperdine or school. But in the commercial, he was a basketball player for Pepperdine University. So even when you're specific, right, the creation can still come to you in ways where you're like, man, this is exactly what I wanted. This is exactly what I intended, rather. But I just wasn't specific enough. Like, he actually wanted to also go to school. He wanted to be, the star. He didn't want to just be the main character in a commercial. But in a way, that's even more perfect than he imagined. So what's the difference between, I actually just said want. What's the difference between want and desire? So want is from want. It's a Norse word, and it means lacking. Okay? Wanting to be lacking. Desire is from Latin and desidere. Is that how you say it? Desidere. I don't know if I have the tone correct, but that means from the stars. All right? So from the stars is desire. Want means lacking. And so the way that I feel about wanting something is that you're noticing lack, all right? And trying to manifest and create from a state of lack is where it's subtle, okay? So we want to think about desiring versus wanting. Try not to harmonize with the lack, but what we want to really do is harmonize with the light source, the stars. Understand that it's all either going to come to you or not, and it's going to be in divine perfection. And the way that I feel about my desire, which is this could be something that you adopt, the way that I feel about my desires, when I get a desire, I immediately think about infinite realities. Remember what I was talking about? Infinite realities. When you actually, I'm not going to talk about time, hopefully, in this talk, but infinite realities, and then there's an intention. There's intention. Your intention with one of the realities. So, what I feel about desire is that I'm feeling tension. I'm feeling a connection to a particular reality, and so desire isn't coming from a state of lack. It's coming from a state of connection to that reality where that thing that I'm desiring, or that experience that I'm desiring, it's connection to that reality where it's existing. It's almost like a premonition. It's a feeling state. And so if we can start believing and trusting that our desires are more of a compass, it's like it's allowing us to foresee the realities that we can choose to go to. We can also squash that tension, right, by convincing ourselves that that's not possible and talking and thinking about all the things that will prevent you from doing that. Then you will be in tension with other realities, which is what a lot of us do unconsciously. So the reason why I'm talking about this is so that when we get these desires and know the difference between wanting from lack and desiring from connection, when we feel these desires, to immediately validate and almost encompass the desire with trust. And trust for me comes from my heart. And this is a very vibrational, like almost tangible thing that I can feel, that this trust wraps around the desire, and then it guides me in my decision making. And so back to what we're talking about here, right? Ascension, right? So these are kind of like different sensations that I'm talking about. And we do have an ability to make with this reality what we want. So even if what I'm telling you sounds completely foolish, just try it. just try it. Some of you guys have different methods. This is my method I'm just sharing with you. This method might not work for you, but it could work. It could stimulate you to develop another method that does work for you. Or maybe somebody says something opposite of what I'm saying or similar to what I'm saying that you're like, maybe that'll work, and you can try that out for you. But we do have way more sensations than the 5 that we're taught that we have. So I made a reel about this, and I mentioned using desire as a compass. Okay. We've heard things like all of the answers are within you, right? And this is an example of this. When it comes to money, and this is why I love money, because it's just so like, it's just there. It's tangible. It's not a guess. Okay, we can see how much we have or what we don't have. But when it comes to money, if you are wanting, right? If you feel like money will give me something X, right? So can we get some examples of things that people think money will give us? So I'm like, an example would be like freedom. I know that a bunch of people put freedom. Security. Choices. Money will give choices. Does anybody have any feelings that you think money will give? But I'm waiting for the chat, peeps. Tangible assets, freedom, happiness, relief, healthier, safety, peace, security. So to unlock the barrier to money or creation, abundance, situations, experiences, even relationships, but we're going to use money in this when this says, if we think that money will give us ease, for instance, just popped up by Margarita, ease, we can guarantee that if Margarita can find out a way to make her current life easier, then that's going to give her a better situation. It'll situate her better to attract in a reality with more money. All right. So when we look at our life and we notice our deficiencies and we think that money is the answer for it, those deficiencies are the exact answer to get to where it is. So ease, for instance. If Margarita, so she's got 2 routes, continue doing the hard way or go the easy way. So here's the beautiful thing about this scenario, is that if she continues doing it the hard way, what happens when she gets more money? She actually is just going to be working harder, right? Because right now she's attaining money through hard work. She thinks that money's going to change that, but really the only way for her to get money, her current method, is to work harder. Or the other way is to start looking at her life and looking at all the things that are really, really hard and saying like, why is all of this happening? Is there a way that I can ease the struggle? Is there a way that I can simplify? Is there a way that I can organize so I'm not fighting against my own schedule and my own time? Is there a way that I can detach myself from the relationships that are really hard and stressing me out? And that version of her not only will be more capable of money, but when she lands there, will be easier. So either you do this or you don't, but in one way, you actually get the opposite of what you think will happen. For instance, security is something else that somebody said, right? Let's just go over that one. More money is not going to make an insecure person more secure. Actually, more money is going to make an insecure person more insecure, because there's going to be more things to potentially lose, more things to come crumbling down. There's going to be more worries. All right. However, an insecure person that learns and looks inside the self and looks out into reality and says, why am I insecure? What can I fix to bring this security to me, is going to be more capable of being in better situations for themselves. And when the abundance comes, when the money comes, when the alignment comes, it'll be from a state of security because the work would have been done already. So this is when we think that the money is going to change something, we're really just identifying the parts of us that are preventing us from achieving that money. And it's almost an excuse that we tell ourselves so that we don't have to work on these capacities. You guys get that? Happiness, whatever it is. So the assignment for this, which we're not going to do, is write down 10 things that you think more money is going to give you. Security, freedom, happiness, ease, more dates. Like, that's another thing, guys. And any other sex. If that's the case, if you think more money is going to get you more dates, then there's probably a whole part of you that you're ignoring right now because you think money is going to solve that. If you can imagine going in and doing the work and let's just say fixing, it's not my favorite word, let's say progressing, evolving, learning how to get more dates before the money comes, I can guarantee you that you learning how to achieve more dates will be the version of you that is wildly more wealthier than you are now. All right? So look at the things that you think money's going to give you. Start tinkering with them now. So write down 10 things. Pick the top 3. By top 3, I mean lowest hanging fruit. If you think money's going to give you more time, that's a pretty easy one. Go into your schedule and just start snipping. I don't need to do this anymore. I don't need to do this anymore. I don't need to do this anymore. Guess what that time's going to be used for? Like, you're also going to have more time to maybe even relax, respect yourself, not hang out with everyone just because they ask you, not do favors for everyone just because they ask you. You're going to learn how to say no. You're going to make more time for yourself to achieve the states of wealth. Like, that's all going to be a reflection of you being a more complete person. Money is a reflection of your ability to utilize this tool of reality. Now, what's also important with all this is acknowledging. Be willing to accept that you're creating everything, good or bad. Your reality is going to line up to your intentions no matter what. And a lot of us can easily say, like, there's no way that I manifested that. I worked hard for this. Probably also true, but remember, there's not really a separation. It's not one or the other. You worked hard because there was intention, there was feeling, there was thought, and you put the action in to match that. You were harmonized with that action through your thoughts and your feelings. These are the 3 manifestation tools: thoughts, feelings, action. All right. So as I'm talking about all that, could be an entire talk on its own. I've actually given entire hour-long talks on that. Manifestation components: thoughts, feelings, actions. All right. Thoughts, head; feelings, heart; actions, body. Right. It's what we do. But it all happens together. And so we really want to take a moment to acknowledge the impacts of our intentions and really just remember that trust I was talking about? When something pops up, like, for instance, the other day, I don't want to throw her under the bus, but it's just the most recent example. I have to do this. I'm going to just swipe out the details, all right? Somebody made an accident, and then it was proposed by that person to buy a new one, and I was like, no way. Buying a new one is not the right thing to do because it's going to happen again. And like, what's the point of buying a new one if it's going to get ruined again? And then 4 days later, it happened again. And it wasn't necessarily this person's fault. It actually wasn't at all their fault, but it happened again. And we're talking about a very costly thing. And of course, it was suggested by this person that, hey, do you know that it happened again? Not because of me, but because of you. Because you were very passionate about not buying a new one because it was going to happen again. And I definitely was like, of course it did. Yes. So when these things happen, when you're like, shit, I said this and then it happened, but like these are happy moments. These are moments where you're like, okay, it's working. I'm powerful. I'm creating this. Like wrap that trust around, build that trust. This is like, let that strengthen your faith. All right. Now here's the thing. So this thing, right, it takes 4 days, right? Some things literally happen immediately. And some things take years. For instance, this house that I'm in right now, 4 years ago, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, my now fiance Seema and I we wrote down a list, and it was kind of like an insanely not possible at the time list. I mean, it would have required like more than 10x the amount of income that we were making at the time. We wrote down a list of all the things that we wanted in our house, and we didn't get it immediately. And eventually we moved into this house, and we actually found that list, and this list is like insane. It's like on the top of a mountain with an ocean view, have a yoga like place, a healing place indoors and outdoors, have a place to do yoga outdoors. Like, it was like crazy stuff. And it happened. So really notice your creations, whether they happen instantaneously, even like the basketball story, the guy that came to do Pepperdine, and like that was a moment where he's like, dude, listen to this, listen to what I did. And so really harmonize with the fact that you're actually doing it. And the crazy thing is that time's not so linear. So it can happen immediately. It can happen years from now. Those emails you guys just sent, I never actually finished my story. Man, I'm all over the place today. So I did this with the group. One of my clients at the time wrote an email to himself after we were, as a group, he walked outside to his car, sat in his car, looked at his emails, and got the email he wrote himself, and then the email from the person that he was pretending to be, like side by side in his phone. Like he manifested it like instantaneously. Sometimes manifestation works in reverse. Some things you're like thinking about, like, I wish this would happen, and you haven't actually noticed that this thing's been hanging around your field for years. The reason why I know Bo is because we both work with Purium, and I think that everybody creates an opportunity in this business for their own reasons, including Bo. He loves speaking to people, and this is a business of communication, and he even told me he wants to get paid to speak to audiences, and I was like, this guy, we'll find out that he will get paid exactly for doing that. But like, I own gyms, and I was being told about Purium by a good friend, and he was telling me about it for 3 years before I eventually closed my gyms, because I didn't like the overhead. I didn't like the fact that I couldn't leave downtown Los Angeles. Like, I had to stay in downtown Los Angeles where they were. I also didn't like the employees. I didn't like so many things. But I remember before I closed my gym, so I've been being told about Purium. I'm like, nah, yeah, that's fine. I don't really want to do that. It's not my thing. But right before I closed my gym, I went with my buddy Dave to a coffee shop. It was a place, cafe, and I wrote down a list of all the things I wanted my next business to be. And it was like insane stuff. Again, it was like 100x my investment in 6 months. It was just like, be able to sell it in 2 years if I wanted to. No employees. no location dependence, no overhead, like stuff that I was just like fed up with my gyms that I owned. And I was just like, I'm going to write down everything that I want because I know this works. And another 2 years went by before I realized that my buddy had been telling me about Purium, this business where everything on that list is possible. And so sometimes when we intend some things, they happen immediately, they could happen in the future, they could happen in the past and just be around you till you notice them, or sometimes they happen like the basketball example, like kind of how you wanted it, but like not how you wanted it, but somehow more perfect than you like imagined it to be. Like it's like very precise exactly what you were doing. So just what I am asking you all to do with this is be responsible. Just be responsible. It's very easy to be the kid that says, I lost because I wasn't trying, right? Or to go into the game saying, I'm not even going to try. That way you're not vulnerable. You're not needed to perform. You're not letting anybody down. And so what I'm inviting us all to do is just step up our responsibility in the money game. Because for me, money is currency, right? And the etymology of currency is condition of flowing. Okay, money is a made-up concept, but it is flowing human energy. It is flowing light energy, just the same way that wires flow current. Currency is the condition of flowing. So as we have flow, harmony with reality, with source or God, or however you think about how all of this is arranged, consciousness, spirit, love, whatever it is, to be in flow with that, to be harmonious. What that means is to have alignment in your thoughts, in your feelings, in your actions, have ultimate alignment with the universe. And in that flow, you will be creating and manifesting currency. And the more currency we have, the more power we have. And it literally is power. And the more power we have, the less force that we need, okay? And in physics, the more power, it's like things will happen through your intentions. And these are even validated in scientific studies where they look at people in apartment buildings and they start seeing how emotions of one person is affecting the emotions of the people above and to the sides and beneath them. And they start asking the question, well, who's the ones that are influencing the other people? It's like, is it just the person sad influencing everybody else to be sad, or is it the person that's happy? Like, which emotions are stronger? It's not about the emotions, it's about the person. And what they find is that the people that have the most psychological it's a word that the Heart Math Institute made up, psychophysiological coherence. So the people that have the most psychophysiological coherence, their brain is in alignment with their body and their heart, have the most impact on other people. And that also extends out into reality, because the reason for this is because reality is all electromagnetism. Our brain and our nervous system, this is electricity, right? Electricity, that's the electro part. The heart is a magnetic resonator. It extends magnetically. There's a magnetic field around our heart. Depending on how you measure it, it could be 50 feet or it could be infinite feet, depending on how you measure it. But the combination of the thoughts and the feelings, like that's your electromagnetism. It's extending out into this electromagnetic field. And in science, when two fields interact with each other, there's going to be I'm acting like a physicist here. I'm not, guys. I'm not. But I'm trying to think of the word where the fields merge and create a new field. But that's happening with you. You are creating a field and you're operating within a field. And all the other people are also operating within the same field, and they're creating a field on their own, and the sun is creating a field, and the stars are influencing this, and the moon and the earth. It's all interacting fields. But the more power we have through alignment, through flow, through money, the more that your intentions will come to manifest. And the people that I'm talking to now, these are the people that we want to have the power. And yes, I know there's so much things we can say bad about money, and there's no way that we're going to have enough money. There's so much that we can be talking negatively about money, but there's just no need to. Like, have it, enjoy it. We're here with it. Why not utilize it? Okay, Bo, that was a lot longer than I anticipated, but we're here now. I could keep on going, but I think I'm going to stop right now because that was a pretty good closing statement. But I could take questions also.
So for everyone watching, take a deep breath and let that settle in, because I know that I just went on a roller coaster of wisdom there. So thank you so much, Ra. We have a question right off the bat coming from Daniel. So Daniel, go ahead, my friend.
Hey, I don't have any questions right now. Actually, I need to internalize all this, but I just want to say thank you and express my gratitude to both of you and to, my dear friend T, who sent me this a couple hours ago, and I'm so grateful for the three of you and everybody on this call. Thank you for showing up. It's such a pleasure to be on, even though it's just on a Zoom and we're not in person, we could feel the energy. It's like anyways, you guys all know what I'm talking about. So thank you so much. Much gratitude, many blessings, and see you soon, God willing.
Appreciate that, Daniel. Yeah, this is like, to be responsible, right? To be able to respond. It's powerful stuff. It's also not that easy, and you might actually need things like this, right? Like, these Zooms, they help. It's just me sharing things. Like I said, I started this off, there's nothing new under the sun, but Bo and I and maybe somebody else who invited you to this talk, what we do, like what we actually do is help people with this. So if you're like, well, I don't know where to start, and I do want some more money, I don't know where to start though, I don't know if I can be responsible on my own, and you really wanted to get connected into a community, then get connected with Bo or whoever else on his team invited you here, and you can get plugged into a system that provides assignments and vision setting and training and practice of the exact concepts that we've discussed today, and in a way where if you are making progress, there's more money. And so this is why we're in alignment with this in regards to money and business, and it's awesome. Anyways, thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, and if you guys have any more questions, please either raise your hand on the Zoom, or you can drop your question in the chat, either or. And don't be shy. If you have a question, now's the time to ask, because this is a really good opportunity to get Ra here. I just wanted to, while people are thinking of their questions or maybe typing it out, you had a, someone says, okay, I'll let them go first. Here's my question. Is there a way to avoid developing spiritual ego, and while having that power that money gives, to stay authentic and in alignment?
Is there a way to avoid falling on a bicycle while learning how to bike? Is that the question you just asked me? I don't know if avoidance is really necessary. Look, we all do the best that we can. And to trust that in every situation, you're going to do the best that you can do, that's really what the strive should be. To actually set a foundation in life and start with the word avoid, I wouldn't recommend that. It doesn't seem like the most powerful foundation to build on. But trust that we will fall off the bike. We will have to learn the lessons and learn which ways not to go. All right, most of life, at least 50% of life is okay, that's not the way to go. And is it this way? Oh yeah, this is the right way. Is it this way? Like, there's many directions not to go, and there's a few that are the right way, and you're going to find those few, and you're going to also, what did you say? Like, you may find yourself and recognize, like, crap, the last few months I've been behaving this way. And it's good that happens, because now you won't act that way for the next 60 years. So I don't think the answer is trying to avoid the downfalls and the mistakes and the lessons, and maybe even you even taking advantage of other people. Like, that stuff's all necessary for your progress. And just grasp onto you making the best decision at every moment, and that way you don't have to regret anything, and you can really have grace for yourself. And more importantly, the most important part about this, especially when it comes to Ascension, is that when we are interacting with other people, when we're looking at other people, we can also see them as a work in progress, and we lower our judgments on them and allow them to express, even if they're kind of like bulldozing down some people, and you're just like that's their process. It is. And unless you're actually in the role to rescue them, help them, stop them, then it's really not, you're not helping anything by casting blame, assessing judgment on them. At least have another perspective. If you can just open up another lens and see them as the perfect human that we all are, it allows for more power, more currency to come flowing through you, through them. Because if we're dismissing, destructing, pointing fingers at people, these are shutting off channels of energy.
Awesome. That's great. I said, okay, thanks a lot. Just finding ways how to do that differently in the future instead of labeling them mistakes and trying to avoid that. You had mentioned to me at one point too that you had been working in downtown gyms in LA. And by the way, guys, if you have questions, you can just drop them in the chat and we'll get them answered. But you had mentioned that you were doing traditional business models in downtown LA quite frequently, and then you had said that the new way that you're doing business now, you said it's the most ascended way of doing business and how you're doing it. And I thought that was such a revolutionary way to approach it. And I just wanted to know, like, what are some of the ascended ways of doing business that are different now than it was before?
I love the concept of Ascension. Actually, the last gym that I have was called Ascension Total Fitness. But in terms of this business, the way that I see it as an ascended business model is because the way that I perceive Ascension is that we're a collection of human beings on this planet, and as the planet ascends and us humankind ascend, we start to unify and we start to feel each other, and we start to activate maybe more perspective in each other to raise the emotional vibration and energetic frequency of ourselves, and in turn physical reality, and then dimensional shifts happen where then we can actually experience higher levels of dimension where we all feel each other and we're all operating in union. And eventually that union gets to the point where we don't need physical bodies to have separate experiences anymore, and we become enlightened, we become one, we become disembodied, and we become one in the ether. But it all starts with individual pieces that start to utilize our own individual life experiences to find connection in each other, to share these experiences. And in our business, like I said, it's all set up for us to go through these concepts that we're talking about and be rewarded financially as we progress through them. We push past fears, we push past boundaries, we open up perspectives, we push past our limiting beliefs of self, our limiting beliefs of everything else out there. And yeah, it's in a business model. We can look at it as just straight business. Like, well, this person did this, and then that's why that's where the money comes from. Yes, that's also true, but there's this other spiritual component that is possible to sense within the business. And for me, that's mostly where I'm living at within what we do with Ethereum. And I've seen people ascend through layers of life, through the trust in themselves, the leadership abilities that they're able to attain, the abilities to present, their abilities to talk, their abilities to show up powerfully. All of these happen as a result of practice, everybody. And there's no better way to practice than in a business setting. We spend the majority of our life working, right? So either you're going to work in a job where somebody tells you what to do and you're going to get paid because you did what they said correctly, or you're going to have your own business. You can have assets too and investments, but you could also start your own thing and have guidance. Like that's what we can provide, guidance. It's your own business. And you can create your own thing, however you want to create it. And we can have discussions on how that's going. And through that creation, you create others. And it's really the chain reaction that is the ascension. It's I stimulate you, teach you, support you. You do the same for somebody else. They do the same for somebody else. They do the same for somebody else. And as you have a bird's eye view of the hundreds and thousands, tens of thousands of lives that have been uplifted through the power of you impacting one person who impacts another person who impacts another person who impacts another person, you really do get the sensation of ascension.
Yeah, that's awesome. I heard something the other day where it said like they taught, I forget what it was, like something like they taught a monkey how to do something, like let's just say like open a jar. I know that wasn't the thing, but they said like once 100 monkeys learned this thing, then all of a sudden all the monkeys in the world were able to do it, and it was this like,
yeah, it was wash the dirt off potatoes.
There you go.
And the actual author of that study will tell you that the 100th monkey effect is just a sexy title, but it actually doesn't always take 100 beings, right? There's basically a critical threshold of people, and that could be one, right? Like there was one person that ran a 4-minute mile once upon a time, and that was the thing. And Michael Jackson and Prince, was it Prince and Michael Jackson, they always used to know that they were tapping into each other's inspirations and dreams. And Michael would like wake up his manager in the middle of the night and be like, we got to produce this song now. Prince is going to have it tomorrow if I don't do it now. And if you even look back at inventions all over the world, if you go back and look at inventions, there's like an abnormal amount of inventions that were patented on the exact same day for the exact same inventions all over the world throughout all of history. Like there's some crazy proof that we're all connected.
Yeah, that's super wild, man. All right, does anybody have any more questions? This is your last chance. Either unmute yourself or drop it in the chat. Don't be shy. I know if you don't ask the questions, then I'm going to steal the spotlight again and ask one more question, but I want to give you guys the chance. So if you
ask
have
it. Ask it, Bo.
Ask it. All right. So this last question then. If you could look back right now as you, the way you are, and speak to the brokest version of yourself, the point where you were kind of like in despair, looking up and thinking like, what am I doing wrong here? And you, the version of you now, could look back and tell that person one thing. What would be that one thing you told them?
It would be around consistency and literally just living. So I'm thinking about myself in middle school. Like, I looked like I was young. I was the smallest kid in middle school, the smallest kid in 5th grade, 4th grade, the smallest kid in high school. And when you're the smallest kid that gets picked on all the time, you don't really have an answer for anything. Like, you don't know why life exists. You don't know why you're here. You're just like, what is school for? Why am I doing this? Like, so, I mean, everybody thinks that bullying's not a real thing, but like, when you get bullied every single day by jerks, it's physical pain. You don't really know what the meaning of life is. And I would tell young Ronnie to just keep on going, like, day by day. Just keep on going, and life is here for you, and the answers, they may never come. I wouldn't try searching for answers, but just be in the experience and make sure to stay alive. Like, just don't go down the path of ending it, because life is long, and there's going to be many, many, many different versions of you. And right now, you're the kid that's getting picked on. There's going to be so many different versions of life. You're young right now, and you know one version, you know one chapter, but there's so many different chapters of life. There's going to be so many different versions of you interacting with different versions of the world, that it's such an exciting journey to be on. And so keep turning those pages, keep living the days, because that's why you're here.
I love it. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you taking the time to come out and speak to all of us. I always get a ton of value out of these talks, and it's such an honor to work with you on a day-to-day basis and to learn from you. You've been one of my most influential mentors in my life. If you guys don't know, 2 years ago, I was really struggling. You can ask Margarita, you can ask anybody that's been following me for the last 2 years. The transformation that I've made as a person from being a part of this community has been huge, and I owe a lot of that to you. So just want to say thank you so much, and thank you to everyone who tuned in.